What's going on YouTube? This is Sorare Deep back with another Wonderkid video. So, I already did the goalkeeper, so definitely go back and check that one out if you haven't already. This one is all center backs. So, center backs are very important in Sorare, as a lot of people know. This video, I'm sorry it's going to be a little bit long. I have 64 center backs that are Wonderkids. Under 21, have to be under 21, and I think they just have high potential or they've already made their mark as a younger guy. So, I'm going to quickly go through this list, not really go in depth on a lot of these guys, but I will go in depth on a couple of them. So, again, 64 guys. I have this set as private now, but whenever the video releases on server data, I'll make this public. Excuse me. And you can kind of go through there so you don't have to wait through. So, first one, we're going to go with Antonio Silva. And by the way, these are from limited price, high to low. So, Antonio Silva is the most expensive. He has been a stud at Benfica. If you take a look at his last, he does have subs, but that's just from the World Cup. I mean, he was on the World Cup squad. But look at these numbers. He had the 102 goals here. He just puts up ridiculous numbers. So as far as center backs, he has to be on your radar. A 19-year-old eligibility through 2028. So number one on the list in terms of how expensive is Antonio Silva. Number two, guy who's been absolutely killing it as well, is Harwood Bellis from Burnley. Burnley has been a cheat code in the championship this year. So, again, you got to just ride with him. A lot of these guys are winning you tournaments with, not a lot of players playing yet, back from break, things like that. So the Burnley stacks are just demolishing. A lot of these guys, at center back, Harwood Bellis is one of the best. Look at his price. I mean, almost over an ETH. 1 ETH even on his rare, and $212 for his limited. So he's number two on the. But look at that L5 72, unbelievable. Next one, Jurrien Timber. So last year he probably would have been the most expensive on this list. This year, he has kind of gone through some ebb and flows. His kind of cross balls across the switching play. He's got a lot of yellow scores, but you take a look and the upside is still there. I very much debated. It's expensive, at that 0.8 around there for a rare. I really debated on getting him for my squad. He could move. He's still 21. He has that eligibility, but kind of as a buy low. But you look at his stats; they're not that bad as far as his price tanking. But again, he has to be on this list for center backs. Some of these guys on the list will be center backs / like left backs, right backs, but I just kind of put these guys in the lump of center backs. Next one we got Formos Mendy as a League 2 guy. So he's 21 years old. You see his price here. We take a look at his scores, and he has that upside. He was on the World Cup squad. He did not see any game time, but again, he's back. 61 minutes here. A lot of these guys I don't follow fully, but you got to watch. He didn't play the next match, so if you're trying to go out there. But just take a look at all these green scores. Unbelievable. Great form. Plays for a League 2 side, so he's eligible for that second division league. And he has to be mentioned. I really think he has a lot of upside for either division, second division or under 23. A guy that a lot of people are familiar with, William Saliba. Great talent, for Arsenal in the Prem. So, man, he struggled his last two times out after, going to the World Cup. But, look at all these green scores earlier, and he's okay. I don't know if I would pay the price currently. I kind of like the other guys in this range, but he has to be on the list as one of the top under 21 for this video, guys. Next up is Inacio for Sporting CP. So Sporting has shopped him. I heard rumors with Man U. I've heard rumors, a lot of places, but for the time being, he's still there. He's got through 2026, which is great. The price, look at that. That's a great price, 0.5 ETH in my opinion. I know his scores haven't been great, but look at last season, tail end of last season. He was unbelievable. He is starting to creep back into his green, 60 and an 82 with that assist there. But he's a guy that horrible form here, right? But at the beginning of the season, he was so much more overpriced than this. I mean, I think his limited was like 0.2. So a guy that if you're in the budget, maybe a good time to buy low, but it's a little bit risky with a transfer possibly coming up. We'll see, especially this window. PSG's 17-year-old El Shaddai Bishuabu is, I mean, he's 17 years old at PSG, and if we take a look here, he started against Strasbourg at left back. So I do have him listed as center back, but he did play at left back, and he scored a 70.84, which is awesome. He's been on the as a sub and played a little bit, but I mean, if you look at his price, he already debuted for PSG, which is crazy as a 17-year-old turning 18 in May. So 2029 under 23 eligible, which is just bonkers. But you take a look at his price here, floor price. It's probably a little bit higher than you'd want to play if you're playing limited. Next one, Castello Luqueba for Lyon. So again, we're going price down. So he's 19, and he is a sure starter for Lyon, which is awesome. Even with a yellow, he had 77.88. Look at that AA there, 42.88. He does have some big AA games like this, just absolute smash. There, what a great game there. So he has, like, if you're comparing the last two guys, I would take him all day because he's 19, which is awesome. That's actually not that bad if you're looking at that at the rare price there, not at his floor, but if you could get him for like 0.3, that's not terrible whatsoever, especially like some of the guys that you can get around that range. That's a decent markdown from everyone else. So he's definitely one that he's a left/center, but he plays center mainly for them. So sorry, I'll try to keep it moving a little bit more. The Chelsea man, Badiashile, nothing really to say about him. Will he be a surefire starter? I would think for Chelsea, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what he does there. So I did own him as limited. He was really, really good before he got hurt. I think in this stretch here, he won me some nice cards on under 23 limited, but I did sell him, for less than what. I mean, look at his current price. There's a lot of what ifs built into that for sure. Next one, Pavlovic for Salzburg. So he plays center back as well. You look at his scores; they're not as good. He was at the World Cup. He's a starter at the World Cup, but they're not as good as you might think some of the times. But if we take a look at his downs, okay, Chelsea, of course, he had a red card and still scored 61.22. That's unbelievable. So he's a guy that's at this price, that's not the worst guy to have in your lineup for a team that in the Austrian Bundesliga should do very, very well. So as his rare, 0.27, not terrible at all, and he's through 2025. So another guy that you're hitting the upper age group in what we have here, but he's a great guy to have. Mies Hilgers, a lot of guys know him from Twente, and he is solid. He's just solid. I had him. I was gonna say I have him in a common, so I just know from common playing him. He at the tail end here did great. 0, yikes. But take a look at this stretch here. So a lot of greens. He plays for a side that has been in pretty good form lately. Unbeaten in the last 5, and he has the capability. 65.94 AA. That is absurd for the even 183 minutes. So he's a guy that at that price is not terrible at all. Again, I'll keep saying it's not terrible at all for these prices. These are guys that, if you have them in your lineup, my gallery at center back, at defender is not that great, and I'm really looking to add, but I'm kind of on the fence here. Do I add some quality? I don't know when I'm trying to make an America under 23 because I really like the MLS. I follow the MLS very much. So I'm kind of leaning that way. It's tough. But him at his price, that's not terrible buy at all. It's a little expensive, but at the limited, man, you could put together a really nice under 23 team right now at limited level. Next one, Zeno de Bast for Anderlecht. He has an ankle injury. So, use caution there. If we take a look at his previous, he played 21 minutes and was subbed off. He was on the squad for the World Cup for Belgium, and he had some nice form, but a stretch that just wasn't very good for Anderlecht, who have been kind of surprising this year. Next one, Radu Dragusin. We'll go with that. Plays in Serie B. He only has 3 rares, so you can't really kind of go that route. 38 limited, so he is very, very in short supply. Take a look at his stats, pretty solid. Again, a lot of these guys that are going to be the beginning of the video are going to be guys that are starters who are going to score now. And then the tail end of the video are going to be guys that maybe down the road, might be an investment down the road, but aren't getting game time, things like that. Next one, William Pacho for Antwerp, Royal Antwerp in Belgium. So, Ecuador guy, he was a sub. I was going to say he didn't play at the World Cup, but he was on the bench. Some really nice scores, a lot of greens here for a team that's very solid and can be a really matchup-based guy that can get you some great scores. You take a look at that upside, huge upside. At that price for limited, again, a lot of these defenders, man, cheap. So definitely worth a look there. Sia for Club Bruges, and you take a look at his scores. He has a lot of DMPs. He made a big error there and a yellow, the old 0, which is brutal, but they were playing Porto. Weren't supposed to win that one by any means. But a lot of cards, yellow, 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 every start almost. So you do have to worry about that, but he does have the upside to score some really high scores. Next one for Hamburger, Mario Vuskovic, and another second-tier team. But look at that form for one of the better sides in the second division of Germany. A lot of green. Didn't play last time out. I don't really know what's up with that. Definitely, if you're in the market for him, take a look at that. But if you're looking for a second division guy, he would be a very, very, very good shout. Next up, Malik Theo, and he plays for Milan. So a 21-year-old just made the cut. Doesn't turn 22 until June 30th. He has been getting some burn. He started the last 2, 60 minutes and 56 minutes, so he's not going to give you the full. But in 60 minutes, he had 40.98 AA. That is unbelievable. He scored in 7 minutes here. So it seems like he is starting to make the stride and get into the team at Milan. Is he a surefire, just lock him into your lineup? Definitely not, but you got to definitely use Play Sharper or anything like that to watch the team news here. Take a look at his limited supply. Only 54 limited, 90 rare. So the short print is actually limited. So very interesting there. And again, if he's in the lineup, huge spots. But again, for that price, not terrible. And he has definitely got to be in this video. Next up, we got Ndai for Bastia in League 2. So another League 2 guy. There's several League 2 guys in here. He is a surefire starter, other than whenever he gets a red card. And he has the upside. A lot of these guys have some sweet upside as the under 23. Again, second division. If you're into second division, these guys could be guys that they're making their way in the second division, getting some reps, and then they could move to bigger clubs and then be out of that second division. So they're always kind of, it just depends where they go, and that's with any other player. Next one, he is injured, torn knee ligament for Ajax, but Kaplan for Trabzonspor before. So I know he played there. I was going to say, I did know that he had a few games, but look at these scores that he put up. I mean, goal line clearances or last man tackles, whatever those would have been. Put up some nice numbers for them. He did make the move to Ajax and was injured, but he was on the bench the entire time. So this is a down the road. His price is, for a guy that you're just waiting on, is not what I'm interested in, but he's 19. He's going to be, once he's healthy, I think he can really push for Ajax, and especially if they're rebuilding a little bit, but their youth academy is so unbelievably good. He's one to watch down the line. Not right now, I would say down the line, maybe a year or two. For Atalanta, Caleb Okuli, and same kind of thing. L5 is 30. So if you take a look at his stats, sub time, he made a mistake here. he has some upside games, but again, for Atalanta, not the scores that you're really looking for. He was elsewhere before and had some nice scores, but currently he is starting. It's just, will he start every game? I don't know, and his supply is limited. So at the limited level, 84 and 11 rare. So that's going to kind of skyrocket his price. I would kind of wait on him. Next one, him Cappy from Leverkusen. He played for that Ecuador squad, and he's a future guy that I really like. Maybe not as far as so rare. I mean, look at this, unbelievable. He scored, he had a red, and he gave up a penalty and an air leading a goal for a 10.56 in a game that he scored. That's truly crazy. But he's a guy that starts, and while he had several low games, take a look at his L5. He might be a guy that's, he grows into this role. He has a birthday coming up here. He'll be turning 21. Still young. I really like him. And at the price, if you go for like 0.2, that's not bad at all. A little bit on the high end, but if you're looking down the line, that's a guy that he's playing top level soccer in the Bundesliga. Bella Chap, if you're a FIFA guy, if you've played FIFA, I always used to get him for some reason. And also Football Manager. He was just a guy that would be one of my center backs like every time, like 2 years ago. He's 20 years old, which I still remember he was 18. I feel like should still be 18, but time changes. That price is a little bit high, but he plays for Southampton, usually starting, but he was on the bench for the World Cup, and then after the World Cup, I think it was just a matter of time frame in between. He should be a starter. You take a look at some of these scores back here. He had 2 decisives against Man U and a 1-0 loss. That's beautiful. Decisive against Chelsea. So he is kind of, you don't want to say matchup proof, but he's shown that he can be a top level scorer at tough matchups. So he's definitely one to watch. All right, Anthony Rualt, and he plays in League One. Some high level scores. I mean, anyone that has 100 and at the center back and it's all AA is unbelievable. So 73.6 in AA alone for that 100. He has some really high scores, and he also has some really low scores. So it's kind of an upside play. I would say in matchups, these greens are probably all really solid matchups, especially, let's see, yep, Strasbourg and Reims. So I would say in good matchups, if you have a bigger gallery, if you could get him at that price, that's a lot better than the floor price, which he shouldn't go for. But definitely a good option. Let's go to the Russian league. So Victor Milliken, and he only has 11 rares, so there's not a lot on the table here. Let me take a look at his scores. He's coming off a 100. That kind of is what kind of stoked my eye. And he's 18, so he has eligibility in under 23 into 2028. So, I mean, that's a beautiful game. Last time out before the break, 2 out of 3 were really solid. Those as a sub. He has some low scores, but he also has those upside scores, and I think you'll see more of the upside after the break, especially as he gets more comfortable. So, as his cars are minted more. For example, that limited price is not bad whatsoever. The rare price is just, I'm never paying that. But if something comes around, like 0.18 or something like that, and I kind of have a Russian league team going, definitely should be on your short list if you're playing Russia. Now, up to a guy that he confuses me because he has the upside. The top end for him is so high. I mean, look at his price. Get him for 0.1. And it's crazy. I don't even think I could pay that just because he hasn't been in the squad. He didn't play all these. He was subbed off in that match and injury. I forget what the injury was. He comes back, red card right off the bat. So we'll see if he's back in the lineup next time out against Getafe. But he's frustrating because he has all the talent in the world. He's a Bayern man, and he's playing for Sevilla. He's still young. Give him some time. I really want to buy one of his rares and just hold on to it because I think he can be amazing, but he's kind of let down lately. Especially if I knew he would be in the lineup, I would snag one up if it was at this price. Obviously, it's trending higher and the floor price is pretty high. But look at this next stretch at Girona. That's tough, but it's not like your Barcelona, which is here. But then you have Cadiz and Elche, and then you have Barcelona. So if you could get him and he starts playing by this game, this match, if he has some good form, that price could double. Not this price, but the 0.09. So a guy that is frustrating, and I probably spent way too much time on this one player, but a guy that I have in my watch list, and I'm gonna keep him in my watch list, and I'm probably gonna be an idiot for doing that. Next one, Mamadou Fall. So he was dead because he was playing for Villarreal, number 2, for his loan from LAFC. But he, whenever they did second leagues, he was made available, which was he was spot on. He was the guy for this 3 stretch, and he scored here. Red card, missed. Then he was on the bench. Then he started, bench. But he was on the bench for Villarreal, so the top team. That makes me think that, okay, is he going to play with the second squad, or is he going to move up? I don't know. So definitely watch news on him because he's risky for sure. Mickey van de Ven. So Wolfsburg, he is from the Netherlands, as you can obviously tell from his name. Take a look at his current. Another guy that had 100 against Dortmund, nonetheless, which he has some super high AA games. That's kind of what stuck out to me. 20, 36, 41. Really bad AA last time with the yellow. But he's a guy that he has the upside. He has the downside as well. But he is kind of making his way into the lineup. He is a sure-on starter for Wolfsburg lately. And a guy that in the right matchup can score really, really high. The current prices don't scare me too much. Again, I'd like to get him a little bit cheaper than that. I don't own him, but he's a guy that in this range is not the worst buy in the world. Morato for Benfica, another Benfica guy. They have a phenomenal youth academy from Brazil. You take a look at him. He has just been a sub, but if you take a look back a little bit, look at this form, playing for a great side nonetheless, but look at this form, solid 77 high, 100. So he has, his okay, and then he just goes off. Again, a decisive here, but he hasn't played. I think he was injured, pretty sure, from what I looked up. He was on the bench last game week, and he could be a guy that is coming back, is maybe can earn his way back in, and he's going to put up really nice numbers. His limited price is not the worst thing in the world. I think you could do a lot worse with $26. And his rare is a little bit higher than I want, but it's kind of built into the hype that people that have held him for the injuries, he's coming back. It was great to see that he was on the bench, and he's a guy to watch for sure in a side that's great. Okay, another Royal Antwerp, Gaston Avila, and he is coming from Argentina. He started the last time out, so that's kind of why I put him in. I think he has a lot of upside. He hasn't had a lot of game experience, match experience, but if you take a look at Boca Juniors time, he didn't even have a lot of experience there either. But whenever he was in the lineup, he was injured here. 90 minutes, 75, 42. So he's a guy that's kind of, if he gets more game time, he's definitely interesting. Low scores here. He's 21. Just turned 21 this last September, I guess you could say. But I think he does have the upside, and he should be considered a wonder kid as far as his upside and kind of working his way in. Next one, Emmanuel Ayew, I believe. He only has 2 rares, so no price history there. But $22 for his limited. You take a look at, he's playing in the Serie A, and he's a starter. So he started his last 5. He's had some nice scores. Interesting guy as far as low, high, and a side that you wouldn't think he'd be scoring as much as he has been, but not the worst guy in the world. I'm excited for more rares to come out to see where his price lands, because I am changing my gallery, or have changed my gallery to more rare based. But interesting. L5 of 61 has to be on your radar for sure. Belosian from Rennes, and he's 17 years old. He's only started one match, and I think that was a sub. So, again, not a lot of match time, but if he can get, that was a Europa League play-in kind of thing, group stage, sorry. 43 whenever he got the start. He got one start. He's young. Rennes has put together some nice young prospects in the past, so we'll see where he's going. One to be on the radar. I know this is a really long video. I apologize, but again, I'm posting this list on Sorare data, so you can kind of go through if you don't want to watch through, or you can just skip through for what I'm saying. Back-to-back Rennes players, Christopher Woe, and he does have a little bit more cards, pretty cheap on the rare side as well as the limited. These guys are all going to be upside guys from here on out that are a little bit cheaper. Take a look. He played for Cameroon in the World Cup. He got that one start against Brazil and then he won. Didn't score great, but he does have some upside performances. It looks like he is kind of just above our last guy there, and in the pecking order. So he is a little bit older, but in the pecking order, he is more likely to start moving forward. Next up is Callum Doyle from Coventry City in the championship. So, not the highest scores, but he does have some upside here. Upside score, upside score, upside score. You look at his side, they did have a nice 4-game win streak here. He, 2 of them he wasn't in the lineup, so that's a bummer. But he does have the upside when he has decisives. The AA isn't as great as you'd like to see, but if you go back a little bit, he does have some nice AA games. So probably matchup based, especially if you're playing maybe second division. 19 years old and 2028 eligibility for under 23 could be a definite look for the future. All right, I'm gonna botch this. Andrew Obadile, Andrew O. For Norwich. Sorry, some of the names I just really botch. He's from Ireland, so I should be able to know the Irish names, but can't promise anything. So if you look here, he hasn't been part of the squad much, but this start kind of stuck out to me. 66.46, some nice AA there, and he was the spot-on starter until injury. So I'm wondering if sub, start, sub, or on the bench and then sub. Will he kind of work his way back into the lineup as a 20-year-old? Interesting to see. I wouldn't pay the current prices, but someone to watch moving forward. So this is kind of speculation. So he is on loan at Almeria, and he's not getting a lot of game time, but he's super young. He's getting the experience, and he's interesting. So 18 years old, playing in La Liga Santander, and he has the upside. He's at Man City, I believe. I know there's 2 of the exact same name guys. I believe this is the Man City one. So he's going to be a loan project for a while. It's just going to kind of come down to, are you willing to kind of wait to see where he's loaned to each time? It's down the road signing for sure. Valentin Gomez, so from Vélez in Argentina, 19 years old. Take a look at his scores. Solid scores. Nothing kind of jumping out other than a couple upside games. But, it could be better, it could be worse. Worth mentioning for sure. I tried to get a couple of the Asian leagues and the America leagues, but there's just obviously more European action in this list. Next one, Koulibaly from Dortmund. He's 19 years old. As far as playing, he has not played much, but a guy down the line, huge upside. Very interesting to see if he kind of can break through in the next year or so. I'd love to see him getting more game time. Next one, Bright Erembi, and he plays for Hanover in the second league, as you can see there in his Köln kit. Playing now, he's played the last 5 matches. Solid score. He's got to be on your radar for the second division. He's very young. He is kind of a guy that, like in FIFA, if you play career mode or Football Manager, he's always high upside. So, Football Manager, you don't want to take it for granted if they say somebody has, a ton of potential. They're usually right. Have they hit on every single one? No, but I think their scouting service is unbelievable. Look at Endrick. He is, I believe, one of the highest potentials in the game. And he just got signed. So, very interesting on that front. Okay, our first J-League player, Haruya Fuji from Nagoya. And we take a look at him. So, he is 21 years old. So, if you're playing the Asia League, he could be a good under 23 whenever some of the matches, if we just have America and Asia running. He has some upside. Look at this stretch here. Beautiful AA. A guy that is definitely on my radar. I'm trying to put together, like I said, an America team, but I wouldn't hate the idea of getting an Asian team eventually, just because I think it's really fun. There's nothing better. So I'm on the U.S., so our time zone is a little bit different. I'm on the Eastern time zone in the U.S., and there's nothing better than waking up for work, and it's like 5 a.m. my time, and it's like halftime in one of these matches. So it's great to see. He's one of the guys that are on my radar that I would like to get. The price isn't bad at all for what you're going to get. I just, would like someone that's a little bit less expensive. Lille, we have a foot injury here. Excuse me. So Lenny Yoro, he is injured, hasn't played in a while. He was just kind of a bench guy, but he has had some starts as a 17-year-old, and he has under 23 eligibility till 2030. That is bonkers to me, but it's crazy. So definitely one for the way future, but he's already had some starts at Lille. Great squad. So one to keep your eye on. Prices aren't terrible. Maybe if you're in the, I don't know. I'd say wait for more cards. Only 63 limiteds out there, only 7 rares. So I think his price could go down a little bit, maybe. But we'll move on. Maxime Decker from AZ. It's a guy that has played and has started a ton. He was a sub last time before break. But you look at those scores, they just weren't great. Not a lot of clean sheets there, which obviously takes away from your all-around game. But he had a couple good ones. So that's a guy that maybe you can buy low on because he's 18 years old and he's only going to improve for a side that always seems to have one of the better academies, underrated academies. Jared Branthwaite, 20-year-old from PSV. He's English. And he has come on as a sub lately. And he started once against Arsenal whenever they beat Arsenal 2-0. And solid game, 3.8 against Arsenal. He had a decisive against AZ last time out. And he has had some starts. So it's very sporadic. You don't know what you're going to get, but I think he has upside and definitely warranted if you're looking for anyone. Next guy, Ravil Tagir for Westerlo. I did buy him, as you can see here. I bought him a few weeks ago. Interesting guy. Current price, yeah. I can't remember what I bought him for. Probably around that price. So his floor is cheap. He didn't have a great time out. He had a goal line clearance that they didn't give him last time out. To be fair, I was kind of bummed about that. Someone else on Twitter reached out about it, and then I went back and they said it on the notes from the game. But that would have boosted that. But look at his scores: 75, 64, 60, pretty solid. And he seems to be spot on. It seems to be good in that role for Westerlo. And I bought him, and I believe in him just as a kind of not cheap, but a guy he's only 19. He's got eligibility through 2027. All right, we're down to our last 15. We're getting here. Adrian Barisic for the Croatian League. He is an upside guy for sure. I knew absolutely nothing about him, to be honest with you, until I was kind of sorting on Sorare data. Sorare data is so good. You put in your whatever you're looking for, and it gives you your top scores. And I was kind of going through, and he's just off the charts. Dark green scores, and then on the other side of it, a 15, a 16, 86, 79, 75, 94. So if he starts, he could either blow up your team or he could get you a podium. So he is very interesting. At that price for a limited, it almost isn't the worst thing to like for a guy that has upside. It's tournament winning upside if you would put together a relatively cheap team in under 23. And let's say he gets you a 90 from the defense spot. He's not the worst thing in the world. Take a look at his rare. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. Like if I could get him for 0.1, I'd probably buy him just for the upside to play him in good matchups. So very interesting guy. I didn't know anything about him. So yeah, the upside's what you're looking for if you want to win tournaments. Stelios Andreu from Charleroi. And, same kind of price range. Doesn't have as much upside, but he has a lot of nice scores. So these are just like really solid scores. One thing to keep in mind, he played 70 minutes and then he was just a sub. So keep that in mind. Not sure what was about that, but that was after break. So I'm not sure did he lose his place? I wouldn't think he lost his place. But, this is happening before. I still think he's going to be a starter and a very interesting guy at 20 years old. Next one, Linus Gechter for Hertha. First of a couple Herthas down the stretch here. He's not in the lineup. 12 minutes as sub. He started a couple. I was just kind of looking back here, and he had some really nice scores and some really bad scores. But some upside games. He's 18 years old, one for the future. That is not a bad price at all if, I'm never paying that. But for that, you're looking at a really decent upside guy if he can kind of break through. But again, it's a little bit risky, a lot of it risky, and it's a down the road. Saba Sazonov for Dynamo in the Russian Premier League. He has played lately, and the only times he has been out, I believe. This one at least was a yellow card suspension, I believe. So I'm not sure. It was just a sub there, but I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Interesting scores. In the right matchup, that wouldn't have been the right matchup, but he had a nice game, nice decisive there. So he's a guy he's from Georgia. Georgia has some decent young prospects. Mamardashvili in net, and you pair those two together. Georgia could be good in the future. World Cup extends to 48 teams? Could they be in play? That might be a long shot, but it'll be interesting on the World Cup to see who actually is new, teams that have never qualified, just because it's a lot easier to qualify. Next one, Diego Coppola, and he plays for Hellas Verona in the Serie A. And we take a look here. He has not played lately. He's just kind of a guy that's definitely on my radar because he did 45 minutes here. I believe it was injury, but not great scores. But I think he has a lot of upside as far as in the future. He's only 18 years old playing in the Serie A, and I am not against this price as just I'm kind of waiting for the next auction. He's in my kind of short list of down the road guys that if I could get him for this much, 0.026, that'd be great, and just sit on him for a while. And again, a lot of these guys down the road, these are guys that are just you're waiting on, you're hoping they're good. They might not be good, they might be good, but they're risky and they're cheap. Next one, he is recovering from cartilage damage. And a guy that I own, both his limited and his rare, but I sold them as I really needed the ETH as far as I was doing a rework. I paid way more than... I paid, I think, 0.3 for him. It's really sad. His price has come way down, but here's why I paid 0.3 before. As far as Asia, I was putting together an Asia team slash... I don't know, it was whenever I first really got into Sorare. I made a lot of mistakes. People make mistakes in this game. I am one of them. But I saw his upside, and he got injured. He came back. He was on the bench, and then he showed that upside. Man, he was so frustrating because I think I bought him. Let's see. I think I bought him around. I think after this 89. I'm pretty sure I can go back and look, but he did great. And then I'm loving it. He's super solid. I think I was playing him an all-star rare because I didn't have a solid guy to just kind of put in there. 70 at halftime, but he got hurt, out for 3 matches. Came on as a sub. He started getting into form. He scored in 12 minutes. He comes back in. He's just not. He wasn't the same player. And then I think I sold him here after that performance. Buy high, sell low, like an idiot. And then he came back and he had a solid one here that I missed out on. But then he got hurt and out for the season. So he is 20 years old and he's one from the Asia group that once he gets healthy for Seoul, he's very interesting. Next one, Allen from Grenoble, Foot in the League 2. Solid scores, nothing to really write home about. A second division guy who's 20, who does have a little bit of upside. Nothing more to say about him. Maro Perkovic from Istra in the Croatian League. Another guy that's $8 for his card, not bad at all. He should be a starter. I believe that was from the yellow card suspensions. Some really high scores, some really low scores. So another upside guy. Again, if you want to win tournaments, you need upside. First or last kind of mentality will get you further up the leaderboards when a lot of people might not be playing a 19-year-old from Istra. So maybe matchup based will be good. Kike Salas from Sevilla. Oh, he had a nice little price spike here as far as that. Let's see. Yeah, he started last time out and scored. So he was a starter here. I'm not sure why he went back to the bench. He just lost his spot or someone came back from injury. But if you're taking a look at Sevilla, we just talked about it, obviously. Nianzou was out, so he took his place. So it'll be interesting to see maybe double up on these two guys because it seems like if one's out, maybe the other's in. Sepp Vandenberg, torn AC or ankle ligament. Yikes. But if we take a look, another Schalke guy. He started 4 games in a row. Not great scores, but as a 20-year-old, very important to have these kind of guys on your radar, but he is going to be out for a while. David Affengruber from Sturm Graz, and he's 21 years old. He had some really nice scores. I believe I was thinking about buying his limited, but I didn't. He didn't end up fitting in my group, but he has some nice upside here as a guy that is on the back of some poor performances. A nice one. That would have been this one here. So against Lazio. But in the right matchup, he's solid. He doesn't start every game, which is kind of, you don't want to fall in love with that. But if you can find kind of the way that he's going through it, as far as any pattern, like Bruno Pekovic for Dinamo Zagreb, I have, but kind of he's going to start 2 games, he's going to be a sub. He's going to start, but he's coming off the bench. So if you can kind of figure out what the manager usually does, it's very important to, play him in those situations and use Play Sharper. Play Sharpers are a very good resource. Hoffenheim, Eduardo Quaresma, and he only has 15 limited, 60 rare, more rares. He's played. He has started one, but he came off after 45 minutes. Then he was on the bench. So another one for the future. If we look back, he was at Tondela. And he wasn't a stud there by any means, but he's only 20, so we'll see moving forward with him. All right, we're under 10. Okay, I know this is a really long video. I apologize, but I had a lot of guys on my radar, so I kind of put them all together in one video. All right, Sint-Truiden, Amin Al-Dakil, and he's another guy from the Belgian Pro League that's. I love the Belgian Pro League. This year, I just kind of really got into it, and I've been watching matches left and right, so shout out for those fans who are really into the league. He has some upside there, as you can see, matchup dependent, but he does have those upside scores, so has to be on your radar. Price is not bad whatsoever. I actually was looking at him or Tagir. I went with Tagir as far as buying, but he's definitely on my radar as someone that has that upside in matchups. Another guy from Seoul. So Kim Ju Sung. And if you take a look back, he was in the lineup the tail end of the year. Some upside here, 76 here. But he didn't really play that much. Also, I'm not going to say I'm an Asian expert whatsoever. There's some great guys on Twitter to follow on that front. But do I think he's going to be the starter? I think he could be out of the gate, but I just don't know enough as far as this. I know that Hambum is the other guy that kind of plays the same position and is a young guy as well. So just someone to watch. Julian Turi from Reed in the Austrian Bundesliga. He's been starting the last 6. Some really solid scores. He hasn't scored too poorly, only whenever he's a sub, and in this matchup here, which they conceded 3 times, you're not going to score well. Very interesting, 21-year-old, and the prices are very cheap. So if you're kind of looking for a cheaper route, especially if you want to put in, I know, just tough in under 23 rare because your keeper is so expensive that it's tough to put in a team, especially if you're going to pay up for an expensive keeper. The other guys, forwards are expensive. It's just tough. But if you're making kind of a budget build kind of team, that would be a good idea for a video. It won't be a cheap budget, but 0.06 for a guy that starts and can put up some nice scores is not bad at all. All right, last 6. Okay, Amir Topku from Rizespor in the Turkish Super League. Started his last 4 and put up decent scores. Before then, he started further down here, but it seems like he was out of the lineup. He was a sub, but it seems like he is kind of getting in that first team, and his L5 maybe just kind of consider him. A lot of these guys are just considered due to their L5 and kind of getting in the lineup. Martin Darday for Hertha, another Hertha guy. They have a nice youth program over there as of late. He's not a guy for right now. He's been a sub. He's started a few times. But just down the road, $4 isn't the worst thing for a guy that maybe can break into the starting squad next season or something like that. But I can understand if you don't want to wait multiple years or just a year for him. Leo Gramel from Schalke. Meniscal injury, so he is out. If you see here, he's been out the last 5 matches. Started a couple, but had really poor scores. That's a side you don't really want to have any piece of. But he's a guy that does have upside, football manager upside, real world upside. But I don't really want anyone from Schalke. Billy Cumedio from Austria Vienna, and he is on loan. So in a decent spot, he's just not playing. One for the future. He did start 5 games in a row, then he was back to the bench and then off. So a guy that you're not really putting a ton of money into. I wouldn't even pay that, to be honest with you. But $3, I've seen worse buys. Last 2. Omar Rekic. For Sparta Rotterdam, if you take a look here, he's just been a sub a couple times. He has had some caps for Tunisia and as subs, but anyone that is only 20 years old, just turned 20, and is getting those caps is someone that is of interest. And our last one, Matty Pollock from Watford, and he is the cheapest one. He doesn't really play, again, down the line, but he's 21, which is a little bit concerning, but he does have upside. It's just he's not breaking into the Watford squad at the moment. All right. I know that was a long video. I appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. I will keep with this series. This one obviously took me a little bit to put together. Hopefully, we'll do left backs and right backs next, and we'll get into midfield. And by the end of the series, I'll have a nice short list, but it's going to be a long list of players as far as the So Rare Data list. So this will all be on So Rare Data. I'll make it public tomorrow or the next day from the video, whenever this is. Thanks a lot for sharing. Thanks a lot for liking it, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys later.